a beautiful Thursday morning here in Lagos. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the program. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. With the 2019 general elections done and dusted, well, except for about 5 states where the exercise was inconclusive, we expect to see supplementary election hold in those states this Saturday. Our attention this morning is now drawn to the ninth National Assembly. A lot has been talked about the need for a more romantic relationship to exist between the executive and the legislature. And we have a lot of hindsight to talk about. The 8th National Assembly, for instance, has been shrouded with some political intrigues and controversies that many believe negatively impacted on governance in the past 3.5 years. All of these threats to democracy became a reality when the Senate President as well as Speaker of the House of Reps defected to the People's Democratic Party some months ago. You remember the footer effort of the APC to have them impeached. Now, analysts observe further that the leadership tussle at the National Assembly did not only affect good governance, like we saw in the delay in passage of budget, delay with, certifying key appointees of the federal government. There are some who are saying that there's now need to look forward and ensure that all those wrongs are right in the 9th National Assembly. So we'll be looking at the mistakes that this assembly have made, the lessons to learn from them, and also looking forward to the forthcoming one in June. Let me introduce my guest to you this morning. I have politician and educationist. He's also a former member of the House of Assembly in Lagos, Honorable Ikuola Omisore. Good morning and thank you for joining us. Good morning. Lawyer and political affairs analyst John Oloyede also joins us this morning. It's good to have you on the program.
Good morning.
All right, so a few days ago, the presidency, through the senior special advisor to the president on national matters, Senator Itanang, stated categorically that the president will not interfere in the leadership of the 9th Assembly. There are some who would say that reminds us of the president's position a couple of years ago when he mentioned that he was going to work with whoever emerges as a leader of the National Assembly. It sounds politically, legally and morally correct, right?
Well, it sounds legally correct and possibly morally correct. But from a purely political angle, I believe that there should be no interference, but then the executive must have interest in those who will be the brain box of the government. Because the legislature is the brain box. The executive is the engine room. So the special assistant to the president could have said, well, we won't interfere. Legally, that's it, because there's supposed to be division of labor. That's right. The 3 arms of government should be separation of powers. But beyond that, the man at the helm of affairs, the man on whose table the box stops, must definitely show interest in who is there. Why? Because, you see, it's supposed to be an inclusive government. And there can be no government where the brain box does not work in tandem with the engine room. Where Mr. President chooses to stand aloof and allow just anybody to take charge of the arm of affairs at the legislative arm of government, I believe we're going to have a repeat of what has happened in the last 3.5 years. So to that extent, yes, it may sound morally and legally correct, but it will be politically naive to just
stay aloof.
Stay aloof.
Honorable, you have seen the politics at the House, especially with the emergence of principal officers. Do you think that the executive will be shooting itself in the leg if it decides to sit on the fence this time?
I think the word interference is very wrong. The executive should not interfere, but it should be interested. I've never seen a situation where a governor will say, this is the principal officer in the state assembly. So likewise, I won't expect the president to say, this is the man I want. But everybody is a product of a political party. The party must be interested. The head of the party is the president. So I think it's a passive way of presidency getting involved. We saw the last 3.5 years, as my colleague have said, and it has been a sad scenario. All the policies and plans of government were in futility just because the engine room, the brain box refused to function or refused to malfunction. Agree to malfunction. So, Mr. President, might be saying his own. I'm sure his political party must be, saying something else. Let me just tell you that all the good policies of the last government didn't see the light of the day. And the government was so lucky to come and been voted again. Because when you talk about anti-corruption, they were not able to do it because there was no enabling act of parliament that would make them do it. As we are talking now, the budget of this year is still there. Whereas the quarter of the year is gone.
The 2018 budget took about 7 months to be passed.
So what we are trying to say is that the president should not tell Nigerians that he doesn't care about our welfare. By now, we need accelerated development, accelerated action, and implementation of policies we are promised at the ballot, before the ballot. So I'm sure the president, people will start talking to him, that his message of, I can work with anybody last time, and I belong to nobody, which cost him a lot of energy sapping mode last time, is not repeated.
Many people are looking forward to hear the president's speech on May 29th this time and see whether that quote is going to feature again. But then there are some who would say that the fact that 60% of the senators are not returned somehow cast aspersions on their performance in the 8th Assembly. But on the other hand, there are some who would say, what exactly do Nigerians want? We were the one who complained that the National Assembly or the legislative body shouldn't be a rubber stamp on the executive. They should be able to check the excesses of the executive. What's the thin line between these two purposes?
Oh, yes. I mean, Nigerians' needs are very few. Like I say it everywhere, every opportunity I have. Nigerians are the easiest group of people to rule because we just want the basic things of life. Electricity, good roads. If you have those things, if you like, you spend first term, second term. If you want a third term, Nigerians will probably give it to you. If you give them those basic necessities. That's why you don't see Nigerians out on the streets despite all the inconveniences we are going through on a day-to-day basis. So what Nigerians want is just good governance. Now, there is really no contradiction in terms. Nobody wants a rubber stamp. But at the same time, a house divided against itself cannot stand. The problem we've had in the past 3 years is a totally disjointed government. Now, you have a government that is in power at the executive level. You have a government that has had the majority at the legislative houses. Yes, the judiciary will be divorced. But the executive and the legislative houses, they were not working together. Now, that is not a situation of, it's not a situation of not being a rubber stamp. It's not as if, oh, what was happening was a situation where the legislature was opposing what the executive wanted to do because it's not good for Nigerians. No, all of us are agreed. Corruption is a big problem. If we don't kill it, we cannot kill it. No society can kill corruption, but we can reduce it to the barest minimum. But unfortunately, that was the mantra upon which the president came into power. And we saw a situation where, for instance, Mr. President appointed somebody as the anti-corruption czar of the country. Until today, we don't have a substantive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. We only have him in acting capacity. Now, you have a situation where a report came from one arm of the executive, another arm of the executive wrote another report.
Would you consider that, for instance, a fault for the Senate in this case?
Well,
because the agencies that came with contradictory reports are even supposed to be with the executive.
The reason why it affected the Senate is because the Senate opted to act on the report that was in tandem with his own position. One position favored appointing this man in full capacity. The other one says, no, you can't do that. And the Senate said, look, we cannot overlook this particular report. So you cannot, the Senate was smart by half because it decided that, look, we are not the ones fomenting trouble here. The trouble is coming from the executive itself. Now, that would not have happened if, for instance, the government, which had a majority in the House, ensured that those who will be at the helm of affairs in the legislative houses are those who sat down with Mr. President and talked about his policies and agreed that, look, this is what I'm going to do in this dispensation.
I think I get your point precisely, yes. But Honorable, you have been in the House of Assembly. are there still trustworthy politicians? With the way and manner our politicians change their political parties as if they're changing clothes. So in the morning they're with the PDP, and then before you call Jack Robinson, they have already defected. Are there people that the APC, for instance, can trust as principal officers, and then who wouldn't change their mind in the next 3 or 3.5 years?
We still have a lot of them there. We still have them. And believe you me, there are still good people in that parliament. We have a list of those who stayed, through the thick and thin, and they are still there. We have those who are very close to the party. We have those who believe in the party. And I'm sure the leaders, they know them. And I'm sure Nigerians know them. But we should be very careful this time around in picking anybody that have questionable character. Last time, the party was strict or the party was negligent. They should not do so this time around, because what is a party? Every politician, every candidate, every assembly member is a product of the party. So this time around, party supremacy must be spelled clearly to our legislators.
We have heard that quite clearly severally.
The willpower.
But then the decision to appoint the principal officer still lies with the House itself and not the political party.
It is very true. But there's always a parliamentary meeting. There's an opportunity for the party to talk to them. The way it is that it seems the party is leaving them to be, swagging it up, whereas it should not be so. The party should not wait on the last minute when they have committed themselves. By now, I expect the party leaders to wade in, because I was a member of parliament, and I know that we used to have nocturnal meetings on this sort of issue. But before we get to the last lap, the party must have talked to us. In this case, I don't see the sign that the party is doing what they should do. Because by the time we form groups, form sections, if you call us, it will be very difficult. Because we will have committed ourselves. The way APC is doing it, they don't seem to be in control now. They should not allow them to make up their mind before they now call them and say, no, this is the way to go.
There are some who are concerned that the party isn't forthcoming yet about its zoning formula. But
which is too bad.
We'll get back to that in time. But there's still a long time. It's still sometime in June and all of that. But even though the 8th Assembly is quite controversial, are we saying that that assembly hasn't done anything fantastic in the past years? We have seen the not too young to run bill, signed into law. We have seen an amendment to the 1999 Constitution. Just recently, they also passed the 30,000 naira minimum wage. There are some who would say that, well, it has been some ego fights, amongst the top leadership, but the assembly hasn't really done badly in its legislative work. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, the word fantastic cannot feature with respect to the productivity of the 8th Assembly. The Assembly had done its job, but the job was not well done. That is a reality we have to live with, otherwise we'll be living in denial. In terms of output, you have talked about amendment. Most of the amendments are either half done or they are in relation to matters that are not seriously in controversy. For instance, when the amendments relate to, for instance, in the Industrial Court, when you are talking about the amendments to the Electoral Act, I mean, those are issues, and some of the amendments that were passed did not go beyond the table, of Mr. President. Some were turned down by him because of, at times, just one clause. And then those clauses, they were not able to iron them out.
It turned down about 5 bills just yesterday.
Exactly. And these are bills that are very germane to the Nigerian society. So, for instance, talk of the Petroleum Industries Bill, for instance. They passed it, the ones that were passed, they were passed piecemeal. But the one that really matters most, the part was suspended, they kept it. And that had been the main problem with that bill, because it will revolutionize the whole oil industry in Nigeria. That particular one, they stepped it down. So the assembly has not really delivered on its mandate to the extent that the jobs that have been done, for instance, just this week, the 30 naira minimum wage bill.
30,000 naira.
30,000 naira was passed.
You don't want the workers to get 30 naira.
no, it can't be. Now, so that was passed. It's like, okay, take this as a parting gift. We're going. Just take this so that we can have some good memories of this assembly. But no, that doesn't work with me.
Anyway, Honorable, as we speak right now, 100 senators have been given certificate of return by INEC and 325 members of the House of Reps. We expect to see the others come up after the supplementary election. But what is the implication of the fact that the APC did not make two-third majority again this time? They are just about 65 thereabouts in the senators of the APC. Some would say this means that now a lot of politics will have to play itself out at the floor of the House. They still need the opposition party to pass bills.
I mean, looking for two-thirds is like trying to have a rubber stamp parliament for the government. You can, even with one simple majority, with good governance, there is no reason why a government cannot survive. We don't need two-thirds to have a government that will, implement issues. What we really need is actually this time around to ensure party supremacy. I repeat it because if I belong to a party, there's a manifesto that the party presented, which I also use to get myself elected. So I want this time around the party to be more closer. In fact, monthly meeting with their legislators, so that they carry them along. Even if you want to have your individual opinion, you will have expressed it at the party level, and the party majority will have told you when you get to that parliament, you know what to do. So even if it's just one, I mean, Obama operated and successfully, not with a very large majority, and he did well. So for me, what we needed most is a good principal officers, loyal party men to be there, and people with very clean record. Last time, the problem we had, last assembly, the problem we had was that some people are already potential, visitors to EFCC, to the courts. They are doing everything possible to make sure that the thoughts and plan of government to cleanse the stable is frustrated. So, believe you me, no, it's not the number that matters, but the agility and brilliancy of the principal officers whom they are loyal to the party. Not the one that will silence people not to talk, punish people, withdraw their stipends, like we witnessed in the last assembly. People were punished for talking, and we had an emperor at the National Assembly, particularly the Senate. It should not happen again.
A majority leader at some point was suspended for 6 months. One would expect that APC would have learned its lessons, but the question is, does APC has the track record, to manage situations like this, given what we saw during the primary election? Two senators, for instance, or one of them in Ogun State, who won that election. Another one is in Imo, who still has an issue with INEC. Both of them, according to the party, engage in some anti-party activities. We don't seem to have seen some good track record as regards managing divisions, within the party. What do you expect to happen with the leadership of the National Assembly this time?
Well, it's quite unfortunate, but APC, quite a number of people expressed the opinion that APC came into power. APC sought power, wanted power first. Then we thought that, okay, after we get power, we'll then know what to use power for. It was like APC was not prepared to win. Then it won. And it was like a slap in the face. So yes, one can understand the last 3.5 years going to 4 years, they could not manage the victory. But there is no justification for a continuation of the lackadaisical attitude this time around, because the party has won again. It means the people were ready to give the party a second chance. But the way and manner, there can be no justification for saying, oh, we're still struggling, we didn't have the experience, somebody had been there for 16 years, this is 4 years. That will be balderdash. Nigerians won't take that again. Personally, I feel that the party has not learnt its lessons. Because right now, there is no business for a party that came on board as an anti-corruption party to even allow one person to come on board who has a sword of Damocles hanging over his head. You have quite a number of them. And democracy is not designed in a way to ensure that the bad eggs do not come in. Democracy is such that, look, the bad eggs can come in so long as majority of the people say this is the
And
man we
support of the
want.
person, you're right.
It is for the party to ensure that such people do not even come near the primaries. But now that some of them have come near the primaries, principal officers, so the party now has to take a stand. Even if there are rogues within the chambers, those rogues must never be allowed to come near the senior offices in chambers. They must ensure that the people that will be there are not people who would have to be attending court sessions and suspending deliberations on the floor of the Senate simply because the leader has a case to answer somewhere. It is not, you see, in Africa, particularly in Nigeria, people were shameless. Nobody will resign because, oh, I have a case. I mean, I am, well, the common refrain is I'm innocent until the prosecution proves my guilt.
Unfortunately, we also have a track record where these particular individuals come out clean from all of these cases. So why would I resign when I'm sure that I didn't do what I've been accused of?
Well, now, you see, we can continue excusing this unfortunate attitude because we keep saying our nascent democracy, our democracy is still growing. But you see that the template we have copied in the American system, once there is a stain, a speck of doubt about your integrity, you voluntarily step aside. That period is gone for you.
You don't think that anybody can take advantage of that?
Oh, yes.
If I don't like you as Senate President, I can just come up with an allegation. Look at what happened with Alu Dume in 2017. They said there was an allegation against the Senate President, and I think Dino Melaye. And according to him, he said he only spoke the mind of the media.
That's Ndume.
That's Ndume.
Yes.
But then the committee said he didn't do just investigation before coming up with such allegations.
Can I take that?
Yeah.
But where is Ndume today? He's back.
He is.
He took the best democratic step, and that is one quality that probably recommends him apart from other qualities, because he's been a fighter. He's been on the floor of the House since, is it 2003?
He's been at the House of Reps as well.
He started at Reps.
He was minority leader at the House of Reps.
2003.
Majority leader in the Senate.
By 2011, he was in Senate. Now, when he suffered his own wilderness experience at the Senate in this dispensation, what did he do? He did not barge into Senate to fight physically. He went to court. Then the court cleared him, and he came back.
So
and
it's your example of someone stepping aside
He's a
to
Democrat.
absolve himself of blame.
Exactly.
I get your point precisely. Honorable, help us understand the process of electing principal officers. Because, okay, let's say even the party has been successful to, have its zoning formula. They still need majority. Yeah. Do principal officers emerge by simple majority, of members of the House?
Simple, yes. The election of principal officers is by simple majority. And they are meeting before meetings. Meeting before parliamentary sitting. Party interference. Party advisory committee, party leadership. That's what I'm trying to stress. This party got it wrong in 2015 because we had a docile chairman who slept off the rights of the party, and for almost 3 years, the party was in the wilderness, no party control of any type. In fact, the party was busy dividing itself in the first 2.5 years. Intrigues upon intrigues, also rock connection, Abuja fighting state, So, like he said, the party must wake up, must start to take control, and rely on the officers and members of the legislative arm to elect by themselves portends danger for the party and government. It's possible. I mean, we knew Al-Sharaki sneaked in and got himself. That should not happen again. Because the way it is going, it can happen if nothing is done. But it is by simple majority that principal officers will be elected. But prior to that, there will be blocks. There will be, division. South is taking this, North is taking this, and the party must endorse it, get all members of parliament to do it in such a way that, because about 40 members, 40 senators, they are waiting in the PDP.
In the election of these municipal officers, is it zoned to a particular geopolitical?
There is no law that says so, but for party expediency, it is done. But the danger is that if you don't have a good number agreeing with the party, with just half of their membership, with PDP, they will create a commotion. And that is why we must make sure the PDP are waiting. Remember Ekeremadu, how he managed to become deputy Senate president, which was a big slap on the face of the APC. And they are waiting again. They have a game. All this Dubai meeting they are having is for a purpose. They have it, it's a game plan, and the party must wait. That's why I call on the leaders like the national leader, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, not to sleep. Because the party members, the Nigerian nation, the people of Nigeria suffered. The other says when 2 elephants fight, the grass suffers. The Nigerian masses suffered. Not that the party don't want to implement, not that the presidency don't want to implement the policies, but they were hampered because of their lack of enabling laws.
It's looking like even the APC would need the help of the opposition party to have its choice of leaders elected. Do you agree with that?
No, ordinarily they don't.
Okay.
If
they can get all the cooperation of their members?
If the party puts his house in order, before, you see, there is caucus before caucus. You understand? There is always a meeting before meeting. I've never been there, but I know that it stands to reason that if the party calls all the members who have now made it to the chambers, you call them and you say, okay, we are 60 something here, they are 41. There's one member from one other party. So altogether 42. But we are 65. By simple majority, all our principal officers should go in. Now, there should be no breaking of the ranks. Are you with me?
That's right.
Let me take you to the American experience. You must have seen what has been happening. Apart from Kavanaugh, when they wanted to confirm him, when there was a lot of investigation and all that, ultimately, by simple majority, he made it. Now, there have been so many other confirmations of other justices of the appeal circuit in America without any rancor, because there was no break in the ranks.
That's right.
All the Republicans voted for the nominee of Mr. President. Now, if APC, with the majority, the majority in the House, they don't need 2/3 to elect principal officers. Every name that comes forward, all the 65 people get up with support. There can be nobody sneaking in from any other party.
What about the system of voting, whether it's going to be open, secret? Because there are some who would say that if nobody knows who each legislator are voting for, then it is easy for even party members to show allegiance to opposing names that is not in tandem with the party.
I don't believe that at that level there should be any secret voting. In fact, it should be by show of hands, even voice vote, because the party in the majority, they know themselves. What I'm saying is, if it's well managed, before they even go into the chambers to vote, there's a meeting, and the chairman says, look, this is the person that the party wants. This is the man that can work well with it. The man doesn't have to be docile. We are not looking for a rubber stamp. The man can be very aggressive. You can look at his past records. Has he been making contributions on the floor of the House? Is he vastly experienced? Has he been stable? Did he stand his ground at the appropriate time? When you look at that kind of person, you can say this man can represent our party.
There are speculations that pressures being mounted by the Southeast and South-South to produce the next Senate president. There are also some senators who have shown interest in the top leadership position of the National Assembly. When we return after this break, we'll talk about these and also open the phone lines for your contribution. Stay with us. Glad to have you back. President Muhammadu Buhari is looking forward to an effective working relationship with the Ninth National Assembly. He believes that this will improve the budgetary process as well as restoring the country to the January-December fiscal cycle. I have Honorable Paula Obishiri, a politician and educationist in the House. John Oloyede is a lawyer and political affairs analyst. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
All right, so I know that we're yet to have a female governor. There was one who was in term for 3 months in Anambra State. We had a short stint of a female Speaker of the House of Representatives. Do you foresee us having the first female Senate President come June?
Well, women, they are not many at the Senate. And I don't know of any of them that is a strong party person that the party could say we beat our chest for he or she to go there. But all I know is that the best should come. Gender has nothing to do with this game. We need a leader, a strong leader. We need a loyalist. We need a patriotic person. We don't need a corny person that will outdo the nation. So I don't think we should talk about gender when it comes to that. Even though the last female one we had was a disappointment at the National Assembly, but that does not foreclose a chance for the women.
Well, there are a lot of women saying that if women are going to get this chance, then it has to be allocated. There has to be what they call the affirmative action, ensuring that certain positions go to females. But we'll get to that. Some senators have shown interest in, the principal offices. Senator Kabiru Gaya of Kano South Senatorial District, against all odds, has indicated interest in the deputy Senate presidential seat. Of course, you know that 7 ranking members from the Southwest are also believed to be eyeing that particular position. But let's look at the Senate presidency. As we speak right now, 3 names seem to be very dominant in the media. There's Ahmed Lawan in Yobe North, Ali Ndume, Borno South, that we mentioned earlier. There is Danjuma Goje, who is a former Gombe State governor and who's been in the National Assembly since 2011. Ahmed Lawan also has been in the National Assembly since 1999. He began in the House of Reps. And Ali Ndume, we mentioned earlier, was minority leader the House of Reps, as well as a majority leader at some point in the 8th National Assembly. What do you make of the personality of these individuals?
Okay, I don't belong to any political party. Let me underscore my statements. But from my close studies of goings on in the National Assembly, particularly in the last 3.5 years, I can make my own humble contribution. First of all, I do not, given the Nigerian experience, I will not subscribe to somebody who had previously been a governor, who had been in executive position in any state in Nigeria, becoming the Senate president.
Why?
And the reason is this. You see, there's this air about those who are governors. What the experiences we've had, particularly the areas where the ruling party suffered big losses, have been areas where the governors have shown so much arrogance. And it comes from this belief that, look, I am an authority unto myself. Now, usually when such people, the past experience of the 8th National Senate, the man at the helm of affairs was a former governor. You understand? A lot of the former governors have seen the Senate chambers, the House of Reps, as a clearinghouse, a place where you can hibernate from all forms of pressure that are brought upon you by reason of certain things you did as an executive governor. Now, we need to clear the air about that it's not a clearinghouse. It's not a place where you go to hide from your past. Secondly, it's not a place where you are going to rule with an air, like your fiefdom. You go there and you want to command people to do your bidding. So, first of all, that is a disqualifying condition for me. Now, the second issue is this. Like I said, I've also never met any of these people. I know that when Ali Ndume was removed by the Senate as the majority leader, another party man stepped in without any scruples. Now, the circumstances surrounding his removal were such that if the party was won, nobody should have agreed to step in as a matter of principle. They should have insisted, oh, this is a matter that should be resolved by the party. But the man then had to go to court, prove his innocence, and then come back into the place.
Are you suggesting that that position should have been left vacant for 6 months?
No. What I'm saying is that if the party was properly managed, there was no need for him to have been suspended.
You think the Senate presidency will be a right compensation for Ali Dume at this time?
I am not looking at, I'm disqualifying. I'm looking at
Okay.
people. I'm not going to say this person is the right person. I'm going to say these qualities must be present in the person who will become the Senate president. The person must be a party loyalist. That does not mean he's not loyal to Nigeria. In fact, what recommends a loyalist is a situation where the loyalist will say, look, we came on board because of this program that we sold to the people. And we can only stand or fall in the pursuit of those programs. Now, if we cannot sell those programs, we cannot push those programs, then we're in trouble. Now, you need to pick somebody who would say, look, what the party sold to the populace, the Nigerian people, was this. Anything short of that, I am not going to support it, even if it's coming from the executive.
That's all right.
So there must be somebody who can stand up to the man up there, Mr. President, and say, Mr. President, you are digressing. You are moving away from our focal point. And if you are not going to do that, you are going to have trouble with me.
I'll get back to you on this, but do you foresee us having an issue with federal character again? If, for instance, we have the executive, led from a particular part of the country, the judiciary led by a particular part of the country, and of course, the same part of the country appears to be showing more interest in the leadership of the Senate.
The federal character has its own basis. But what we are trying to do is a political consideration. The geopolitical zones are what is normally used in this sort of situation. And the president has come from a particular part. Certainly the same president will not come from that side. The rest of the 5 geopolitical zones, we have to share the rest. And the party also have a say on who gets what.
Let me hold you for a bit to take this call from Iriwole in Ogun State. Good morning, Joshua.
Good morning, Nifemi. How are you, sir?
Terrific. Go ahead with your contribution.
I greet your guests.
Thank you very much.
I want to add an angle to this talk. I think it's time the people of Nigeria begin to put pressure on the assembly. I see a situation where we are focused more on the presidency, what the president is doing, what the president is doing. We did that all through the previous years, and I think everybody latched onto it and diverted attention from what the House were doing. Now, we have bills that will favor the people. Politicians will not pass these bills because they don't favor them. Can we begin to mount pressure on the assembly? Can we focus on them? They are our people. They are supposed to go there, pass the PIP bill, for example, that favors us. Pass bill. So we set the agenda for them. I see it because whoever you put as Senate president, whatever, I hope the presidency will not say they are not concerned this time around. But whoever you put there can easily be compromised, can easily be bought over. But we, the people, what do we want? So that's what I think we should look at too. Let us shift the pressure to these houses so that, like, when the budget padding was exposed, and the guy who exposed it was rusticated from the house, nobody stood up to defend him.
He was suspended,
so
actually.
Just be careful among them to play the right game.
All right, Joshua. I think you made your point very clearly. Thank you very much. You were talking about the 6 geopolitical zones, reminding us that in the north there are about 3 of them, actually. So if someone had come from the northwest, it's possible that we have another person from the northeast.
You have the northeast, you have the north central.
That's right.
And same thing southwest, south and all that. So it's going to be on geopolitical zones. But the most important is to party, to moderate. Because if there's no moderation, you will see people from even zones that should not be asking for this thing, creating a storm for the party if the party is not in control. So it's very, very important that the party show passion. And we can say it is June. The way we work in the parliament is different. By now, things are done. By May, it is impossible to call me back. So this is the time to do it. We should not leave them to commit themselves. Once they get committed, no party can call them back.
Earlier, you mentioned the fact that you wouldn't want someone who's been governor to emerge Senate president.
Yeah.
What track record do you think the APC as a party will be looking at right now to justify its choice, of a Senate president?
Well, as a Nigerian citizen, because I believe APC will have its own clear sight as to what qualities are needed.
Criteria.
Yes, the criteria. But as a Nigerian, I mean, speaking for those out there, I believe they would want, for the fact that APC won at the center, that means the Nigerian people have said, okay, you can continue. Now, having said that, I believe the best quality you can look out for in the person that will be the Senate president, it must be somebody who is vastly experienced in legislative procedure. Now, you have mentioned 3 gentlemen who have come out. Yes, they've got pedigree. They've been there since God knows how long, in the 90s, early 2000s. They've been there. So in terms of experience, these people are there, subject, of course, to whether it will be zoned by the party to the region they're coming from. Now, so in terms of experience, they've been there. But then the experience now is relative. You see, there are people who have been lame ducks in the chambers. They have been there, they keep on coming back. But what bills have they sponsored? What presentations have they made on the floors of the House? What arguments have they canvassed?
What value have they brought?
What principles have they stood up for on the floor of the House?
Just let me hold you a beat and take this conversation to Ojota. Today is calling in from Ojota. Good morning today. I needed to turn down the volume of your TV set. Can you hear me today? All right. I'm just going to come back to you very quickly. Let me have you conclude your thoughts on this issue.
So first of all, you need to look at somebody who has contributed not only in terms of issues relating to Nigeria as a whole, but in terms of his own immediate constituency, where he's coming from. So, for instance, if we are looking at these 3 people, you need to look at their track records. What have they done to benefit the people who sent them there? What have they done to issues relating to Nigeria, for instance?
But how much contribution do you see the people have, for instance, in the decision of the party?
No, the Nigerian people, once these people are voted in, apart from the power of recall, which, I mean, from our nascent experience, has not really worked. You remember Dino Melaye when they wanted to recall him, the whole thing was bungled.
It was an impossible task.
Exactly.
I say, Honorable, that you want to contribute, but let me take this call very quickly and then I'll get back to you. Okorafo is calling from Arochukwu. Good morning, Okorafo.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Good morning.
Honestly speaking, the 9th Assembly, I look at this issue that they should not serve as a rubber stamp. That is number 1. Number 2, they should stop this issue of every 2 or 3 months, they go on recess. When they go on recess, coming back, question mark. And the third one is that they should serve the voters, not the party interests. Because people have voted them into the office. When they come in, what they promise the people should be their focal point, should be their roadmap. Not to go there and say the party said this and that. And this issue of empty hall, honestly speaking, gentlemen, honestly, the 8th Assembly, if you watch what is happening in the UK or US, you see the assembly when they are meeting. You see that in Congress, they have full house. But in Nigeria, every day you see an empty hall. You start asking yourself, where are these people that people voted them into the office?
As long as they form quorum.
Where are they? And then the last few days, that the chairman of the committee, they will call it a tax.
It's all right. I think you made your point known. We were talking about how much impact the people are going to make in who emerges leadership at the principal officers of the National Assembly. Do you see the people play any predominant role this time? The people.
People
the,
of Nigeria.
Yes, the electorate.
Of course, the electorate has already
They have already done their bit.
mortgaged their powers to their senators, to their House of Rep. They have been empowered to go there and speak for me. And what is lacking, like Okurafo said, is the people coming back. Somebody, a contributor said we should be putting pressure on them.
Yeah.
You see, if you are not doing well, your people should be able to request for, a meeting with you, tell you what to do. It's only in Nigeria why we don't go back to the electorate. They don't come back home. They stay in Abuja. And once you are there, you're not doing your bit, the people who voted you
some of them, in all honesty, come back home for town hall meeting. And
I am telling you, town hall meeting is probably once a year, quarterly. You see, the normal thing is that you have a place where they meet you. Do they meet them there? Are they there? So the most important thing actually is that for the people, to this time around, net assembly, to be asking them. And don't forget, in those days, we have various NGOs, student union bodies, labor union.
That makes legislation
but today,
accountable.
all are going, even the media, all are forces that make us stand for what we, promised. But nobody's challenging. I think
I get your
net
point.
assembly, all those organs that represent the people should wake up.
Let's go to the Federal Capital Territory. Emeka is calling in from Abuja. Good morning, Emeka. Emeka, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Please go ahead with the contribution.
Good morning, Mr. Presenter.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm there.
I need you to stop listening to your
Good
TV
morning,
set. Just
Mr.
go ahead. Go ahead. Make your contribution.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
And their co...
You sound like co-debaters.
Okay,
Perhaps
please,
you should...
what I want to say is this.
All right.
Can we be able to go back to the Second Republic sitting of the National Assembly, where they come on just to come and sit and have allowances and go back, not to be as if it's a professional job. Because what we are spending on these very National Assemblies from 1999 to date is so outrageous. Can we go back on sitting on the day they call? If you look at like what Mr. Okarafo said, if you look at the benches in the representative and House of and the Senate, it is alarming that nobody comes there. They only check their businesses. They are now registering companies, become contractors, and they are not coming there to do the good thing for Nigeria. Every one of them what they are struggling is what will suit them, not even their constituency or Nigeria.
I think you made your point known. Thank you very much for calling, Emeka. We have talked about part-time legislature. Unfortunately, it is the same members of the National Assembly that will decide on that. So I'm not sure they're ready to let go of their very juicy bonuses, for what Nigerians are clamoring for. But let us look at the pressure mounted by the Southeast and South-South to produce the next Senate president. There is Orji Uzor Kalu, right? There's Benjamin Uwajumogu, who is an APC member from the Imo State. There's Ovie Omoagege from Delta, and another APC member from Edo North. How can the leadership of the Ninth Assembly be designed in such a way that would avoid friction? Because it boils down to popular acceptance of whatever decision the party is making at this time.
Well, politics is always a game of numbers. There is nothing that can stop the aspiration of anybody about wanting to be the Senate president, even if you come from a minority part of the country. Nobody can stop you. But at the end of it all, the person that will get the mantle will be the person who has the largest crowd.
That's right.
So there needs to be no friction. Like we've been saying since we started this program today, a lot depends on what the party will say. I am not a party person, and I agree to the extent that, look, the people should act on the basis of the program they sold to us. But you will agree with me that politics in Nigeria has not developed so much in terms of, what's it called, manifesto. A lot depends on the individual. All these people that you mentioned, the persons you mentioned, some of them former governors, they sold their personalities. And on that basis, they got elected. Now, it's a different ball game in the chambers because you now want to be primus inter pares. You want to be first amongst equals. Now, it is for your peers to decide whether you deserve it or not.
That's right.
But if the party decides that, okay, we are zoning it here, if Mr. President is from the Northwest, the Vice President is from the Southwest, the person that will be Senate President will be North Central or Northeast, then the deputy will be from so place, and then down to the House. The last time, in 2015, I think the speakership was zoned to the West. But there was a revolt, and it went to another part of the country because that part had the numbers. So
It wasn't a revolt, it was an intrigue.
oh, well,
We're going to get back to that. Let's take this call from Ikeja. Good morning, Folicat. Polycap, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, Polycap, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Yeah.
You have just 30 seconds.
Now, my contribution is this. Yeah. Yeah, my contribution is this. First of all, I don't think we need two houses of National Assembly. They're spending too much on the National Assembly.
I agree.
And they are doing the same work. I think we need just one house of National Assembly.
It's all right.
First of all. But that's a discussion for another day. Then your present topic on the Senate President, I will want the party to take into consideration that the last National Assembly, the leadership was skewed towards the north. A situation where you have the president, the Senate President, the Speaker of House of Reps, and even the Secretary to the government of the Federation coming from the north. I don't think it's fair. So this time around, if the Senate President will have to come from the north, I think the Secretary to the government of the Federation have to be zoned to any of the regions in the...
Okay, I think you made your point, Polycap.
South.
Thank you very much for calling in. You mentioned political intrigues as
Yes,
responsible
I mean,
for what
and
transpired.
last time, the party had its zoning program. And there was a great intrigue. And we had a party chairman who was undecisive and docile, and he could not arrest the situation. And that is why I am calling on Shiomole to wake up. And the national leader, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to wake up. You know, it should not happen again. They should be more, proactive, because already it's brewing.
We have to wrap up now. But
yeah,
help
we
us. Please, just go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, and we had a very strong man like Ahmed Lawan,
Okay.
proactive, is a loyal party member, and is a nationalist, and is very experienced. He's been to the Senate, and he's been to the Rep and Senate. So what are we looking for?
All right, we have a last caller here, Adamo from Yobe. Good morning. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Great. You have 30 seconds.
I just want to give a piece of advice to APC. Let them organize themselves very well in respect of appointing or electing the Senate President.
It's all right.
Let them not repeat what happened in 2018 Senate.
It's all right. I think you made your point. We have to go now, and I want to have your closing remarks. For the party's zoning formula, which comes first? Is it the zone or the individuals? Do the party say, "Oh, this is the person who wants to become the president," and then the zoning to his area? Is that how they do it?
no, I believe the zoning comes
Okay.
first, and then they can then populate that particular zone with the kind of the exact person they want.
That they desire.
So the zone comes first. If it is zoned, then people can come from that zone and then vie for the post.
Let me have your closing remarks on this very
yes.
quickly.
You see, specifically speaking, I would, like I said, we are all Nigerians. We cannot leave everything to APC. At least they will listen to us in their formulations. My take is this: even though I've never played active politics, I was very sensitive to the travails of this particular person, that's Ali Ndume. When he had to go through the travails of being suspended and all that, all because he took a position. And the position he took was specifically, I think he was fighting about appointing the anti-corruption, the chairman and everything, and some other people, majority of them, didn't want that. He went to the court, came back, got his position back. I believe that that is the kind of person.
Right.
He has those qualities that we are looking for.
We have to go now, gentlemen. I believe that we'll come back to discuss this subsequently, perhaps when the Senate or the National Assembly has decided on its principal officers. Honorable Paula Omishiro is a politician and educationist. Thank you for coming on the program.
Yes,
John Oloyede, lawyer and political affairs analyst. It's good to have you on the show. Well, the show continues tomorrow. Onkiyoru will be back, and I believe that you will have fun with him. Join us again tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Thanks for being there.